and welcome to the Fixed Ops Mastermind powered by OEM Interactive, the original and longest running virtual fixed ops show. I'm your host, Dave Foy, 37 years of fixed ops experience. And in 2019, I had an idea to help the industry, came to life on a Zoom call with other fixed ops professionals from the US and Canada. Tonight, let me welcome back those old friends and invite our new friends to join the conversation. We are grateful you are here. This week marks the end of the Tuesday evening live call, 5 years of live broadcasts. Next week, we move to our new time, Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will replay that show in this same time slot, as well as having a recording available on demand. Before I introduce you to our esteemed guests, we want to thank our sponsor for this week. This week's Fixed Ops Mastermind is brought to you by Radiant Ride. Now, if you have not experienced Radiant Ride and are not familiar with Sticks and its quality individual product, then you need to get associated with Sticks, bringing you the ability to have restoration of a customer's vehicle aligned with their service that they're having done on their car. It increases retention, repeat, and referral business. You can become a Radiant Ride certified destination center. Now, let's get into the show. On the center of your screen is Allie Peters, who started in the business in 2011 and has worked her way up through all the positions in the dealership, even spending a little time on the sales side. And now she is Vice President of Service Operations at Cavender Auto Group. Allie, welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me tonight.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And Jeff Larson, sales representative, award-winning sales representative from Billion Automotive. Jeff, been in the business a while. All of you on LinkedIn, I'm sure, are familiar with Jeff and his lot walks that he pioneered about 5 years ago and still continues those today, imparting some wisdom for life, for work, and for everything else every single day for us. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's an honor to be part of this tonight.
I am glad to have you here. And last but not least, Ed Roberts, COO of Bozard Ford Lincoln. Been in the business a couple of years. And Ed, we are happy to have you with us.
Hey, glad to be here. You got to surround yourself with smart people to keep growing, and that's what I'm doing right here. So glad to be here.
Awesome. We are here tonight to talk about sales versus service, right? It's a big topic. We all know in the dealerships that there are silos that, silos that exist, and they do nothing to help our business, right? Customers come to the dealership and they see Bozard Ford Lincoln, a Cavender dealership, a Billion Automotive dealership. They don't see a parts department, a service department, a sales department, a recon department, right? They only see that one cohesive group, and that's how we need to come together. But the reality is it doesn't work that way all the time in dealerships. And so we're here tonight to try and help people understand how to better integrate their departments together, right? And tackle some of the real issues, because let's be honest, not everybody is going to work well together. And so we'll get started, and I'll start with you, Allie. And what have been some of the strategies that your dealerships have helped to put in place to try and integrate those departments between sales and service?
Yes, I'll take it. I love it. So think from our point of view, the biggest focus that we have is working together, like you mentioned, as a team and understanding that we are Cavender Auto Group. And that is what the customer sees when they come in. You know, most of y'all have heard that phrase, sales sells the first car, service sells the rest. And when we can truly understand that and look for the life cycle of the customer, looking at the people who bought their first car from us, and now their children are buying cars from us, and now their grandchildren are buying cars from us, and continuing the life cycle and the servicing of each of those cars. I think we recognize we have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture versus just that one transaction. And I honestly can say that I have an incredible partner on the variable side, and we are united in the vision and where we're going. And we have very transparent and open communication with our teams as to how working together to accomplish those goals is going to benefit everyone. And it's that what's in it for me. And ultimately, when you can share that with someone on your team, they can then share that with their team. And then over time, that ripple effect is just transformational.
That's awesome. And so, Jeff, I'm going to jump over to you because on the sales side, as awesome as that sounds from Allie,
Right.
we know that it doesn't always work as smoothly as that, right? So, what are some of the things that you see on the sales side, or what are some things that your group has done to try and help and make that relationship between sales and service become a little bit better?
Well, I think a lot of it just has to do with scheduling. You know, that's the biggest thing. Of course, as a sales guy, you know, I want my stuff right away, you know, and you got to be organized. But I think just having the right people in place with the scheduling has made it well for us. And of course, just being connected to each other. You know, every morning I'm walking to the service department every morning saying good morning to everybody. And, you know, I mean, communication is the key. And so, you know, I've maybe I'm a little different just having that relationship, being just a sales guy, but I know that they're my cornerstone, like Allie said, as far as to keep that service going and to keep that relationship going. So, yeah, I think it's just the communication and again, the organization of, you know, making sure the guys and gals, of course, are putting their stuff in the system for the scheduling, which of course, once that's done, everything else goes very smoothly and everybody does their part.
Awesome. All right, Ned, we're going to round it out with you. So as the COO, you've got to overlook all the departments, right? So
Well,
what are the things that you're seeing?
well, we compartmentalize our dealerships ourselves, and if you look at it from Amazon, we don't look at Amazon like I go to the marketing department and see what they have, and hope the shipping department gets it right, and hope that I can return it if there's an issue. No, it's Amazon, and when I need to return it, it's Amazon, and that's one of the things that we try to focus on at our stores. Remove the friction and remove those elements. And I got an email last night at 5:59. And when I read it, I said, this is perfect for tomorrow night. I'm going to take a moment and read it real quick. On 3/20/24, I purchased a 2024 F-150 from Bozard Ford. As luck would have it, the next morning I had issues with the instrument panel not working. I contacted Bozard and was connected with mobile services. They immediately set up a person to come and check out my truck. Upon arrival, he was unsuccessful in solving the problem. Arranged for me to get a rental truck and have my truck taken to the shop. Within an hour, a gentleman arrived with a replacement truck and took my truck to the shop. I was informed later in the day that the issue was a wiring harness that needed to be ordered from Ford. They were unsure of the time it would take. By Friday, 3/22, they had the part installed on my truck. On Monday, 3/25, they took care of the aftermarket items that I wanted to add to my truck as I requested when I purchased it, and had the truck back to me on Tuesday, the 26th. I am writing this because through the entire process, every person I talked to or with was very helpful, very positive, and worked hard to get my problem resolved. I believe people should be recognized for excellent work. From the first person I talked with in mobile services to the person who delivered my finished truck to me, the process made both my wife and I glad we did business with Bozard Ford. I wish I had all the names of the ones involved. So ultimately, if you look at the sales, it's mobile service, it's pickup and delivery, It's the loaner department, it's the service department, it's the accessory department, and it's the parts department working together to take care of one customer. Now, in most cases, in most dealers, that deal would have been unwound, would have put them in a different truck, whatever may have taken place, but it wouldn't have went that way because there had been a lot of finger pointing, and there's other stuff in the shop. I can't drop everything I'm doing for this or whatever, but we are one team, and those are the things that can happen when we work together as one team, because we're not the service department, we're not the parts department, we are Bozard, and as Bozard, we need to take care of our customers as Bozard, just like Amazon.
That is a great email to receive, and it probably makes your heart drop a little bit when you start reading that the truck they just picked up was
Exactly.
not running. So what was the total number of departments that had to work together to get that customer's car back to them?
Well, if you count sales as just one department, it's 7. It's sales, it's the mobile team, pickup and delivery team, and let me, for the audience, I'll explain the size of our store. All these areas are departments because we're 372 people strong. It's pickup delivery, loaner department, service department, accessories team, parts department. If you want to count F&I on the sales department, there's 8 teams, but if you just count sales as variable, there's 7 departments that was tied there that within from the day that he purchased it to on the 21st being acknowledged of the problem to the 26th being delivered back to him with everything that he needed done in addition with his accessories.
That's awesome. So Jeff, gonna go over to you. So what are when you think of times when service and sales have actually worked well together, can you think of a story where there was a service issue with a customer, either getting a customer's car delivered on time, right? You said earlier you want your cars done first. In getting a car delivered on time, maybe it was something that had to get done quickly. Maybe it was something that came up that was unexpected. Maybe the customer came in to pick up the car and noticed something on the car, or the check engine light comes on, something like that. Things happen, but something where service and sales really came together to make sure that the customer had a great experience.
Whew. I can think of many times, really. There's been times, of course, coming in the morning there, especially, I'm one of the early birds walking the service department, and one of my service managers are right, hey, there's Jeff, and of course, here I am, starting my day right away. I got Mrs. So-and-so here. She's got this going on. Where again, it's just, I did a video here, was a week ago, talking about how teamwork makes a dream work. And I guess I just truly believe it that, just like Ed was saying, it's talking about being all one store, not separate departments. And, I could probably talk all night at different instances just because I've been doing this for 24 years, but that's where, again, it's the communication and just the willingness to, put our heads together, and just to get it done. Like I always talk about, just getting it done.
Awesome. That's what it takes, right? It takes all the teams realizing that it's not about us, it's about the customer. And as long as we focus on that customer, then everything will come out right. And so, Allie, we're not going to ask you the same question. We're gonna ask you a different question. And what we want to know is, what role does leadership play in making sure that the departments are working well together?
All right, I'm ready for this one. So I will say that from my perspective, leadership is willing to step in and to navigate the conversations between sales and service. And so oftentimes we see a perception from a sales team and a perception from a service team, as well as parts. And like Ed mentioned, all the other teams that are involved. And it's this feeling of they don't understand what I have to do in order to accomplish this goal. And so now it's all of a sudden this head-to-head situation where we're working against each other, when the reality is we should be working shoulder to shoulder. And so oftentimes it is stepping in and bringing the parties together to talk about the situation and understand what the goal is, And then I have found that when we do that, it starts to open it up. And like Jeff mentioned, it's all about communication. When you have a relationship with someone who's on the sales team or the service side and you can partner together, you have a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of grace as things are happening, and you're able to navigate that with the customer. And I think from my point of view, as far as leadership's involved, it's explaining that to the masses, right? It's the whole group, it's everyone. It's not just this one service associate and this one sales associate who are working together. It's how do we get all the departments and the entire company working together? And so just leading the way, walking it through and really tackling the obstacles head on.
Well, and if I could just add in there, and that's where, again, I talk about it all the time. It's just a relationship, making sure as far as teams that you're getting together within your dealership.
Right.
I'm not saying going out to the bar and having drinks after work. I'm not saying that. But, whether it be family events, whatever it is, it's just having that time, that camaraderie together. So then, it's just working with each other. I mean, we have 9 stores within Sioux Falls. And, covering all those stores, I'm sort of all over the place. So it's so important for me to have that relationship at those other stores. If I need something else cleaned, or I sell a car over at this store, or, it was just like today. I met a customer at 7:15 this morning because they're going to get some sealants and some protection done on their Yukon they just bought from me. And so of course, got over the detail and is at the Chevy store, which is across the street from me. Well, of course, I messaged my guy, over there. I said, when it's done, just let me know. I'll come grab it as I have to get to the shop. His response back was, hey, Jeff, I already took it up there for you. And again, it's just that communication like that. And then, of course, Jeremy reached out to me, let me know what they diagnosed with, what they need to do there. Again, that's just what it's all about, to where, then I went and got the vehicle. Customer came, picked it up. And, everybody just did their job. So.
Awesome.
So listen to that a little deeper because he's not just talking about one store with the departments working together. He's talking about multiple rooftops coming together to take care of one customer that may have started somewhere else and finished up here. And that's a huge hats off to you there for pulling that off and getting everybody working together there under different rooftops.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's presenting challenges, and I'm sure it's challenging just having that many stores within one city limit also.
Yes.
But then getting all those stores to work together, as we've been talking about, sometimes it's hard just to get departments within the same store to work together. And now you're talking about getting different departments, different stores that feel like completely different entities. Right. But they're all part of the same entity. They're all part of that Amazon that Ed talked about.
Yep.
Right.
And yet they still have to come together and work for the common good of the customer.
Yes. And if I can just piggyback, so very similar to Ed's scenario, I actually had an email right before we got on here together with a general sales manager from one store, an internal advisor from that store, a customer-facing service advisor from another store, because we had a customer buy a car here that was a different brand and has an issue now, very, very similar to that, Ed. And it's who, how, what, and it's this, how do we get this fixed for the customer? Because from the customer, it doesn't matter if it's GMC, it doesn't matter if it's Ford, they bought it from us and we are us. And so how do we navigate that, but work together?
Right. That's awesome. And to be able to have the different levels of people working together there. Mm-hmm. Right. That's you're talking a general service man, a general sales manager, and an internal service advisor. Mm-hmm. Very, very different roles, very different objectives every day.
Working toward the common goal.
So, right? Yeah, one common goal.
You're the customer.
That's right. And so that brings me into my next question. Actually, that was a great segue there, Allie. And so, what are some of the challenges that we face when we're trying to align the objectives of both departments, sales and service? Because we understand that we're there for the customer, right? But we also understand that sales needs to move metal, right? They need to move some units. Service needs to produce hours.
Mhm.
And those are not always in a line with each other.
Yeah.
Right. So what are we doing, and what are the challenges that we're facing when we're trying to align the objectives of each department?
Is that one for me? Or is that Ed? Yeah, go ahead. Because I could give you
Go ahead, Allie.
scenarios. Well, I think it's aligning the how you measure success, right? Because to your point, it's if service sells more hours, awesome, we won. If sales sells more units, awesome, we won. But if the sales mentality is I want to save my growth, so I'm not going to invest in reconditioning, then you may have a customer come back with a problem. And then we get to the place of, well, how do we take care of this customer? They just bought a car from us and our reputation is on the line and we sold them something that wasn't the best car. And now do we ask the customer to spend more money to fix the car? Does service take care of that from the customer's perspective? Does sales take care of it, but then it hurts growth? So it's really aligning those goals and saying, if we're going to measure service and sales in two completely different ways, then we're going to run into obstacles and we're going to run into struggles because we both are working towards goals that aren't aligned with each other.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
so, Ed, hop in on that one.
So we are wired as humans to defend ourselves. We're wired to protect ourselves and do those things. So from that, we always try to take care of ourselves first. And so we're always thinking, well, what's in it for me? And we have the shift. It takes intentionality to make that shift to what's right for the customer.
Right.
And then from a leadership standpoint, that's where we have to be involved and set the tone for take care of the customer, then we'll take care of you. Because a lot of times in stores, we try to figure out, well, is that deal going to get split? Or am I going to get the hours? What is that going to be? What's that? All you got to set the tone from always take care of the customer first, and then we'll figure out the details. But when you do that, you have to figure out the details. You can't say, I'll come back to you. We'll come back to that later. We'll figure it out. You have to take care of the details because that's the most important element to them. They will ship for you until you leave them hanging one time. But it's setting the tone with intentionality that it's customer first and that they are the ones, like Allie said, that pays the bills for all of us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. We are going to take a really short break here for the quote of the week. And that is from Elon Musk. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, nah, what's wrong with a horse? That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. The quote of the week is brought to you by Chameleon, Driving Change. If you guys have not met Jim and Josh, with products like AI Volt, Time AI, and Warranty AI, they are changing the industry, making it easy for us in fixed ops to get a quick look at our data every day without spending a ton of time burying our heads in a computer when we need to be out taking care of our teams. And so Time AI, AI Vault, Warranty AI, and Jim and Josh over at Chameleon, make sure you reach out to them. All right, let's get into sales and service working against each other because it does happen. All right, so what are some of the common issues that we see when there isn't coordination between sales and service? It doesn't always go smoothly. And sometimes Jeff is not nice, Jeff, and he just wants his car done first. And so what are some of the things that we see when departments are not working together? And Jeff, we're going to start out with you on this one.
Yeah, well, first of all, the one thing I guess, that we've done as a dealer group, because like I said, we have 9 stores within our dealership in Sioux Falls alone, is that we've built a centralized location where all of our vehicles that are trade-ins, detail, and everything go to where then each, standalone dealership can then focus on the customers that are coming in. That's definitely been a plus. But yes, it definitely causes some, running around, and was it Ed or Allie that talked about, well, I think it was Ed talking about how everybody wants to protect themselves, and yes, unfortunately, you might have some finger pointing that goes on every once in a while, but like myself, I'm so customer oriented. to where, we've ran into those situations where, and again, if the customer's there and it's maybe getting this, let's just take a time out. Let's put a smile on our face, maybe step back to the office and talk about it, figure it out. And again, you've got to put those customers first. So I'm sort of losing track there with where we're going. I'm sorry.
All good, Jeff. All good. Your point is well taken. And so, Ed, talk to us about what happens when we have conflicting priorities in sales and service, right? Jeff needs to get this car out last day of the month. He's this far away from being salesperson of the month again, and he needs this car out. But service has got a full schedule. So what do we do? How do we overcome that?
So we have to stop the finger pointing, because where that comes from is all finger pointing. That's not my fault. He's always that way at this time of the month when that happens. They don't care about us, what we have going on back here. All they care about is what they got in front of them. My car runs fine. I'll be out of here soon. It's all finger pointing. It's nobody taking ownership of where does the customer fall in line there. And so in order to shift that, we have to look at it through the customer lens. And if we're looking at it through the customer's lens and we're saying my car runs fine, well, that doesn't fit anymore. Now the customer has a need, and what are they having to go through? And when we remove as much friction out of there as possible, none of those other elements fall into place. But that doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen with one adjustment. That's constantly rolling in the same direction and keeping the focus on the customer. Like Jeff was saying there a minute ago, he's so customer focused. Well, if you guys didn't pick up on that, he's been the salesman of the month. He works for a billion automotive group. He's been the salesman of the month for a billion months. That's because he's focused on customers. And when we do that, we can't blame, but you got to remove the blame game.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And Allie, so same question to you. What are some of the things that we can do when we have those competing goals between sales and service?
So I have a lot of feelings right now. So I'm just working through them, but it's like Jeff mentioned, is sometimes just taking a step back, because Jeff is going to be focused on the customer who's in front of him, that he is working on the one car. And if he's not in a scenario where he has a relationship with someone in service, they have 25 customers that they're focused on taking care of. And so his is one out of a handful that they are prioritizing. And so I do think that it is that being able to take a step back, pump the brakes, look at it creatively. And as we talked about earlier, every day with our customers and service truly is a game of chess. How can I get as many customers taken care of in the day that I have in front of me? And if we can focus on that, and our advisors understand what the why is and can take that step back and think creatively, and ultimately that falls on us as leaders. We have to start that. We have to model that, and then we have to teach it to our team so that they can implement it when a sales associate is in a scenario that they need help. And so it's just that taking a deep breath, and just it's like Tetris, right? You just rearrange the day if you can. And if you can't, be honest about it. But if you can, just try. I mean, I think that's ultimately all we need to do, is just try. Show people we care, and we're going to try.
Exactly. And so what are we doing? What are we doing at our stores to help prevent this misalignment? Because the reality is Jeff has a pay plan. Allie has a pay plan. Ed has a pay plan. Everybody in that service department and sales department has a pay plan, and everybody is going to work their pay plan, right? So what are we doing to bring those together to make sure that we are working for that common goal, the customer? Ed.
I'll start with that. So I preach all the time that people repeat what gets recognized. And I read an email, and it was perfect timing for this podcast. But ultimately, we all get those emails at certain times where things line up, and we get those emails, and it does us no good if we don't share it with our team. But like today, I preached about it in the staff meeting. I preached about it here. I preached about it with every person that was involved, and I did it publicly. And when people repeat, what gets recognized? Well, that person that didn't get the recognition that was standing right there next to them think, man, that'd have been cool if I got tied into that, but I didn't get whatever. And it makes them want to do those things. So we have to build that atmosphere. And that's one element of multiple things that we could do to build the atmosphere to where they want to take care of that customer first. Because yes, if there's no purpose, if there's no other why, the only thing left to do is the work to pay plan.
Mm-hmm. And so Ed, go a little bit deeper on that. How do you help to instill that why in your team, or is it something that they have to come in with?
Well, no, they have to have a heart, but no, it's not anything to come in with. And I tell people all the time at the end of the day, we are recognized for a lot of things. But when we go home, it is just a building. It is just brick and mortar, and it has no soul whatsoever. It's how we do business inside of it when we come in the next day. And so one, it's setting the tone of we have 5 questions that we answer, and I won't bore everybody with one of them, but everybody knows what those questions are. And one of them is, why do we exist? Well, to enrich the lives of others. We give people opportunities. And there's so many ways of how we do it, but that's why we exist. So anytime something goes astray, you can refer back to one of those 5 questions. Well, was that enriching their lives? Was that enriching their life? And if the answer is no, then we're really living up to the 5 questions. And that is our why. That's our reference material we go back to in every situation. What do we do? Well, we sell cars and service cars at a fair and reasonable price. It's not rocket science on any of those 5 questions. But when you go back to why do we exist? To enrich the lives of others. Was that enriching? No. Well, why not? Could it have been?
Excellent. And Jeff, let's jump over to you. So what are some of the things that you guys do as far as team activities? And they don't have to be activities, team meetings, whatever. As a group, what are things that you are doing to help make sure that there is a cohesion between your teams there?
Well, as far as like just within our own store, we'll have big old meals, we'll clear out the showroom and have big old meals just to sit down, whether it be over the holidays or just, again, because we hit presidential award for Toyota, just different things like that. Because again, we only get there because we worked as a team, and that's where, I mean, yeah, was it Allie that was talking, or Ed that talked about, or you asked the question, does a person have to have it in them? I mean, yeah, 100%. You got to have that want, desire, drive, and everything else. And, of course, I think it's more important than anything that the salespeople, I mean, we're like the front lines. We're the front lines of that Amazon, as you put it, Ed. And of course, it's that impression. And again, that's where I think it's so important that obviously it's starting there, to where, of course, when those cars are getting sold, that obviously, there's proper introductions into service and everything else, so people know where they're going. But again, as a salesperson, it's just wanting to get to know who you're working with, because, when you're looking at this as a career, I mean, like myself, I mean, it's who's next in line to take care of if you do have a problem, and again, that's where it's just that relationship, communication. And just doing those different things together and building that camaraderie is what it's all about.
Yeah, it's so important for the team to really get to know each other, right? It's not as everybody has heard said, we spend way more time with our work families than we do our real families, and it's important to have that relationship there, to understand what other people around you are going through, to understand that at times Jeff's going to need a little more assistance. Ed's going to need some assistance. Allie's going to need a little help, right? And if you don't understand who the person is and where the person's coming from, you're never going to be aware enough to understand when those situations arise. Mm-hmm. And so sales and service, it's a love-hate relationship. right? Allie has worked on both sides of it, and
Yeah.
sorry, Jeff, you landed on the right side. You landed on the fit side.
I have a favorite for sure.
So what are some of the things that what are some of the systems and processes that are being put in your stores to help prevent that misalignment? Right? We know it's there, and so what are we doing to actively prevent that misalignment? And Allie, we'll start with you on this.
Okay. So we actually, probably in the last month or two, at this point in my life, all the days and months blend together. But recently, sometime in 2024, we had a meeting with our used vehicle directors, our internal advisors, our service managers, our VP of variable, myself, our VP of parts, pretty much anyone who touches the car in the recon process. The people who are appraising it, the people who are pricing it, the people who are fixing it, the people who are approving the repairs. And we all came into a room, and there were probably 30 of us for 8 stores. And we just sat down and we walked through the process, and we said, where are we failing? Where are our obstacles? We had our vendors come as well. Same thing. We had accounting come, because I was tired of hearing we're having a problem with this. We're having a problem with this. So I just put them all in a room and I said, let's talk about it and figure it out. And so when we all got in there together, we were now not just a name on a screen. And I think that really changed it. Is you have a vendor who you're frustrated with because they're not sending you your invoice. You have accounting who's frustrated because we're not sending their PO. We've never met these people. We don't have those relationships. And I will say, after that meeting, our reconditioning process improved significantly. And now we actually just leveled up. Yesterday, we implemented a new process where we are confident in the repairs that we're doing day one. And like we talked about earlier, instead of punting the car and going like, maybe it's going to come back, we're now saying, no, the right thing to do is to invest into the car, fix it now, and then sell it with that cost already associated with it. We have warranty on the car. We'll take care of you if you've got a new problem. But we're not going to just roll the dice and cross our fingers. We're going to spend a little bit more right now to take care of our customer. And I think that our sales team, our service team, our management team, we're all on the same page of that, is understanding, let's fix it from the beginning so that we can remove it. And Jeff's concern of, hey, I have this problem, I need it fixed right now. Those are going to be now exceptions to the rule versus the norm, which is then you're on that hamster wheel of insanity, and no one wants to be there. So that's my answer. Work together.
Awesome. I love the idea of bringing everybody together to figure out what the issues are, because it's really easy to do the finger point, right? That's a really easy thing to do, especially in the virtual world, right?
Yeah.
So to get them together. Jeff?
And that's just where I want to add in, because that right there is what is so important in, especially in how competitive the market is anymore these days. Yes, you're investing in those cars, which again is, giving your guys the hours and everything else, but then it's making it easier, and it's saving more time for myself to focus more on my cars or on my customers. Like I always tell my customers, I'm not here to sell a headache. I don't have time for a headache. I remember 24 years ago when I started selling cars, and my clothes would be like, all right, besides the dent in the rear corner panel, the rust, the cracked windshield, and the bald tires, is there any other reason this vehicle wouldn't work for you? Come on, really? But that's how it was, unfortunately, because you didn't have the internet, that obviously something like that, you're going to get burnt social media. Where of course, if you're setting your cars up right in the first place, and your salespeople can go out there and confidently say, hey, this is a good car. You're buying a good car for me. I'm not going to sell you a headache. I don't know. I know it sounds easy, but
well, that's the funny thing is it is easy, right, Jeff?
it is.
It is, and we just need to stick to processes and do things right, and again, keep the customer as the focus, and the business does become easy.
100%.
Ed, gonna move over to you. And so as the guy who has to oversee all the departments in the dealerships, what is leadership doing to respond when there is an issue between sales and service? What's the resolution look like?
So the resolution is whatever it needs to be. And that sounds easy. And we talked about with Jeff talking just a minute ago, that it sounds easy. We overcomplicate it. A lot of times we know the right answer. We back things up. But it's about, and some of this was talked about with what Ali and Jeff was talking about a minute ago. It's what's the vision, get commitment to the vision, share that with everyone, communicate it with everyone, and then create the process and follow it. Well, that's exactly how you lead a team. You create the vision, you you get commitment to the vision, you communicate it, you cascade it down to everyone, and then you put processes in place that works towards that vision. And so it's all hands on deck when there is an issue. It's not that that's Jeff's problem. He sold that customer and he shouldn't have sold that car to begin with. Well, if he shouldn't have sold that car to begin with, we shouldn't have put it out there on the lot to begin with. So where does that responsibility really lie? Well, it lies within the dealership, not with any other one person. But if we cascade that information all the way down, then everybody's pushing towards that same direction. And then when we're not, and we step outside of that and we go in a different direction, they're blowing the whistle saying, hey, 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 this is not what we talked about. And then that's our opportunity to clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And Jeff, from your side, what happens when there is that conflict between sales and service? What's the resolution from leadership look like to you?
Well, take care of the customer first. Take care of the customer first. Let's figure it out later. I mean, that's really, I mean, then of course, obviously, what do we need to put in place or what do we need to change so that obviously this issue doesn't arise again? But, you know, at the same time, I mean, we're all human. Yes, mistakes happen, but if it happens over and over, then obviously there's something that needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. All right. One more quick break as we go along. And this is our stat of the week. Only 30% of mid-sized dealerships carry an inventory of electric vehicle parts. Again, brought to us by Chameleon, driving change, and the products, AI Volt, Time AI, Warranty AI. Warranty AI, you want to get what's rightfully yours, right? They can help make that happen. AI Vault, if you're going through a DMS changeover, they can make sure that your historical data is saved with that. And Time AI is automated intelligence, not artificial intelligence. And that, again, is going to help you look at your data quickly and then get back to taking care of your teams. Thank you again, Chameleon, Josh, and Jim. All right. We're in the home stretch here, guys, and we've covered a lot of ground. And so let's move back to some of the ways, not move back to, because we didn't talk about this yet. Let's talk about some of the ways that technology is helping or hurting sales and service working together. Ed, we'll start with you.
Well, first, I want to go back and I want to tug on a few nuggets that are being dropped out there, but they're not being dropped out there to the point where they're being picked up. Jeff said, let me rephrase, Jeff's very successful at the store that he's at, and he says, I get there early and I walk through the service department every morning.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's doing that every morning, he probably knows the answer, the names to all those people there. Reflect back at the stores that you're at, and do you know the people? If you're in service, do you know the sales guy's name, and vice versa? So there's opportunities there, and when you make those connections, people do business with people. When you make those connections, it's easier for Jeff to get things done when he goes back there.
And I'd be willing to bet, Ed, before you move on, I'd be willing to bet that Jeff doesn't just breeze through the service department. I'd be willing to bet he's spending a little time in the bays chatting with the women and men of the service department, of the parts department, getting to know a little bit of what happened at the kids' t-ball games and all of that stuff, right?
And they all buy their new Toyotas from me as well. So
there you go. Yeah. And when they have a broken one that needs to be traded in, you're their guy, right? It's all about relationships.
100%.
That is little details, and everything's in the details. So you
Mhm.
got to stop and reflect and pick up those details. Shifting to technology, and I think this happens in any industry, not just automotive industry, is we have a broken process. So we look for technology to fix that process. Well, it'll never fix the process. It may fill a gap in that process, but it never fixes it. We need solid process on how we do things for technology to enhance what we do. But if we have something that's not working or something that is broken or whatever it may be, we will never find an answer effectively or for any period of time with fixing it with technology. Technology does not fix issues. It enhances what we have going already.
Yep.
You're muted there, Dave.
Can't hear you,
Oh, there
Dave.
you go.
Had to do it at least once. That's a great point. And Allie, over to you. What technologies are helping or hurting the service and sales relationship?
Yeah, so I would agree. I think that if there's not a solid process and you have obstacles that you're not willing to point out, you're going to continue to have them even with software. I will say also when I feel like technology is helpful when you have the right people with the right vision, right? We've talked about this. It's all about culture. It's all about understanding what the end goal is. It's understanding why we do what we do. And I think if anyone who's involved in the technology understands that, then we're going to really be able to see real data that we can then use to improve our process and enhance the customer experience. But I still remember very early on being introduced to a recon program that we had, and it was very much hot potato. It was, oh, well, I can't do today, so I'm going to put it in Ed's bucket. Then Ed saw it, and he put it in Jeff's, and then Jeff's like, I don't have anything to, why is it here? And so I think when you have the wrong people or the wrong rewards in place, then you start to get really just bad data, and it's not real. So I think that technology is wonderful when you have people who are, again, just it's all about being on the same page, understanding where we're headed, understanding why we do what we do, and then working to improve it month over month, day over day.
Good stuff. Jeff, I'm gonna give this question to you too. Although I know that tech is not a big part of what you do because you are a people guy. But how do you see tech either enhancing your relationship with the customer, with service, or hindering it?
Well, and again, it's just got to be used as a tool, not as a crutch. On the sales end of it, the unfortunate thing is that I feel so many leaders or managers or whatever, they're relying on their computer systems and everything else to do such things as like follow up. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm out on that. That's where, of course, from the service side of it, and making sure that you have a good BDC department to be actually talking to people, calling people, and of course, when people are calling in to make appointments, make sure they're able to get a hold of somebody and talk to somebody that knows something. I mean, I tell all of my customers, that's a lot of people, to call me or text me when they want to get service done. It's not that I don't have confidence in my BDC or anything, but I want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it gives me an opportunity to, well, if there is something more going on, that maybe it's another opportunity for me to sell another car.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just because I want to take care of my customers. So maybe I'm a little different from that aspect. But again, I don't know. I think it's just becoming too much where people are relying on it too much versus just using it as a tool to succeed.
Yeah. As you rightly stated, Jeff, it can't be a crutch. No. Right. And Ed, you said it's never going to solve an issue. It definitely is not going to solve an issue. Jeff, from your point of knowing who the customers are coming in for service, every store that I ran, I printed out the appointments the night before and hung them up in the sales department so they could see who was coming in. So if they had a customer that was coming in, they could come out and talk to them in the service drive if they wanted to. It was available for them. Here's the customers that are going to be here. And if you want to come and say hello, go right ahead.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I mean, that opportunity to I mean, that's where the service department is so important. And of course, salespeople, they need to know that. I mean, to make sure that they're going there, making sure that everything is going fine, even if it's just an oil change or tire rotation.
Yeah.
Make sure they're saying hi. I mean, it's a relationship that's going to grow them. So, and again, it's all part of, because people, there might be somebody sitting at customer lounge and they see a salesperson come over and start talking, and again, it's just that interaction, like, wow, this is just a good feeling, just that family type atmosphere. And, it's amazing how many referrals I've got from just doing that, because, after I leave my customer, then another person says, "Is that your sales guy?" And next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call or a text saying, "Yeah, you were talking to so-and-so, and I'm actually looking at this and this." Okay, sounds great. Let's go. So.
And that's the right way to do it, right? And a lot of times you have stores that try to set up where they have somebody from sales come out to talk to customers in the service drive or in the waiting area.
Yep.
And that conversation, instead of being just a conversation of what happened in the game last night, whatever it is. I told Ed earlier today, I've got some snow coming in. Lucky me. There's always something you can talk to a customer about. And unfortunately, a lot of times that it turns into, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Dave Foy. Hey, do you want to buy a car today? Are you looking to trade? You got your car in for service? You want to find out how much it's worth? I can get you a trade evaluation if you want." Right?
I really need to buy your car. We have a customer for your car. Help me out.
You get this instant reaction, right? And we all do the same thing. You walk into a store and somebody says, "Can I help you?" What do we all say? "I'm just looking." Right? Even if you actually need help, we instinctively, "No, I'm just looking." Right? It's the same thing in our stores. So that's the right way to go about it, Jeff. Just have a conversation, talk to the people that are sitting in the waiting room, and it's amazing what happens from there. And now, Ed, gonna jump back over to you. And so I'll say this should be a fairly self-explanatory question, but what are some of the long-term effects of sales and service not working well together?
Short term, long term, all of the above. It is turnover, and it's not being fulfilled in what you do, and it may push you to a different career. It may do all kinds of different things. But it is poor CSI if we want to look at it from that angle. Is low profitability if you want to look at it from the store angle. It's high turnover in every department, not just in one department. And for the audience out there, if you don't learn something from every element of turnover, whether you created it or they created it on their own, there's something to be learned from every element of turnover that you have. And we should be getting better with each one of them. And if we're not, we're probably going to need to expect more of the same.
Absolutely. And Allie, we're going to ask you the same question. I kind of expect the same answer, but
yeah. Ditto. Can I say that? I mean, you're going to lose customers. You're going to lose associates. I think I feel very grateful because I worked for a gentleman right out of college, and he said that his goal in life and the reason his why for doing what he did was to change the way that people viewed the car industry. And so from 22 years old, I heard that, and that resonated with me. But I still, right now in 2024, I think there are dealerships around me that are absolutely old school. No one wants to work there. They're horrible. And like Ed said, their turnover, it's a new manager every 3 months. So how can you expect anything about it to be good? I think they just sell cars really cheap, and that's how they win. Or they think that I don't know how they're. So all to say is ditto to Ed. You're not going to be in business, and if you're going to be in business, you're going to have a horrible reputation and maybe doing something shady on the side to stay in business. So that's not what I want to be a part of. So take care of your people, communicate, and everyone works together.
There you go. Jeff, we'll round it out with you.
Well, all I got to say is I sleep very well at night. It's one of those things, it's just doing the right things each and every day.
Yep.
You take care of the customers will take care of you.
That's right.
That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. we are less than 5 minutes away from an end to the reinvented Fixed Ops Mastermind. I want to take this time to thank our guests, Ed Roberts, Allie Peters, Jeff Larson.
Yes,
I am
thank
grateful
you.
for your time and your knowledge and how freely you share that with the industry. I want to thank our live studio audience here. We appreciate you being here, and everybody who is watching online, thank you so much for being here. One more time, we want to thank our sponsor for the show tonight, Radiant Ride. And Radiant Ride delivers convenient service experience at dealerships. Customers are going to be able to get their cosmetic work done at the same time they're getting maintenance done. And again, if you haven't met Styx, you need to reach out and connect on LinkedIn. You will not be sorry. And once you're connected with him, he's probably going to send you a set of drumsticks, right? There's a reason that he's called Styx. And so become a Radiant Ride certified destination center, and it will definitely help your retention, repeat, and referral business. And so once again, everybody, thank you so much. I am so grateful for the time you have spent here and the free information that you've given to the industry to help the industry. And with that, we will take it on out. And thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.